Well, hello there. My name is HW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. I'm here with the Sooze today.
Hey, the Sooze.
And look what we have. Look at these things. I mean...
we finally made it happen.
We finally made it happen. For those of you who remember, the very first JM Pro we ever had on the channel was actually one just like this. It was gold, and I foolishly got rid of it, actually. I kind of like started thinking maybe I didn't need it, and I think I was pressured because I didn't want to keep it past the 30 days. I returned to Chicago Music Exchange and then instantly regretted it, couldn't live without it, bought my blue one, and have never looked back since.
Yeah.
And later I went and bought this guy with the SSVs. Now why did you buy, because this is yours, you bought this. Why did you buy
this guitar?
This guitar.
Well, every time we did videos with the blue one, you know, I would go from my guitars to that one, and every time I played a certain way on it, and I would listen back, and it sounded a certain way, and I realized I didn't really have that tone in my collection. Right. But I always loved hearing it back, especially me playing it. Sure. There was an experience of like, you know, man, I love that guitar so much, and I didn't have one.
And you played it a ton. Because
I did play it a lot.
Pretty much in every demo we've ever done, I've usually dragged that guitar along.
Yeah, and you've talked a little bit about, too, like, when we profile, that's the guitar that's in our hands for, like, 6 or 8 hours, you know? Yeah. So if you add that on, it was like I had been so comfortable on it, and I never really owned it. Plus, I kept wanting to borrow yours, and that was a sign that it's time to get my own.
Right, and you did borrow mine. And you still have not returned it. Yeah. Even though you bought one just like that.
Right, now I have both.
Okay, I digress. So after owning the P90 version of this, the blue JM Pro that you see in all the Tone Junkie demos and videos and stuff, I went and bought this. And I originally bought it with the intention of putting in Thornbuckers, which, funny enough, you have in here.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that yet, and what happened was, I don't remember. I was going to put in Thornbuckers, or I was going to put in like TV Jones, like Filtertrons, and then I really ended up loving these SSV humbuckers. And
didn't you have an experience too where you were loving them live, like a lot, like when you would play with the bands? Yeah.
So just like for fun, I just brought this along, and I had dialed in all my tones for the S-90s. And then just for fun, because I got this guitar, I just grabbed it and played it live one Sunday morning, and instantly I was like, I love the high end. I love that it sounded more pushed. I love that there was like more gain. It was cool.
Without changing anything.
Without changing anything. Yeah. I liked the way this sounded live when I had dialed in the tones for these pickups. Yeah. I just loved what it was doing. Right. And maybe and I will say this, at times since then I've played this guitar, and sometimes these can be a little bit hot. Okay. You know, like like it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me when I want like an all out kind of like just bridge humbucker rock and roll kind of sound. But when I want a little less, like kind of a edge of breakup, a little bit of breakup, they can be a little too much.
Okay. Even hotter than... we've always talked about how hot the S-90s are.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say these two, that the S-90s compared to the SSVs are, that one's hotter than the other. Just this one sounds a little more traditional, a little more vintage. And this one sounds a little more clear. Okay. And more humbuckery. A little more modern, maybe. Okay.
What's the mid-range like? Is that what you're liking maybe with a band as well? I guess we're going to play them.
I wouldn't describe these S-90s as not mid-range, especially on the bridge.
Yeah, for sure.
But yet this has a humbuckery kind of mid-range. It's a little bit different. And these just sound like, you know, these pickups, these SSVs, to me sound like Eddie Van Halen's PAF in a Strat. Yeah. That's what they sound like. Like a Gibson humbucker put on a Fender-style guitar. To me, that's what these SSVs sound. That's what they are.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's cool sometimes. Yeah. It's cool for like the hotter stuff, but I think clean and stuff, I prefer the S-90s. I wonder what these S-90s sound like compared to even the Thornbuckers. Both supposed to be PAFs, but these supposed to have a little more extended high end.
Lower output.
Lower output.
Closer to a single coil.
I think you should play us through all these.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear it.
Let's do it. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a favorite, but sometimes they sounded close, sometimes they were pretty different. You know, to me, the S-90s were prettiest in the neck. Okay. Like, this was my favorite for the neck position. You could definitely hear like that single coil snap. My next favorite was the Thornbuckers, and it sounded like fatter, like a PAF. It also sounded beautiful, but in a very warm way. The SSVs I didn't think sounded delicate or pretty. They had an amount of compression that you can't really get rid of.
Yeah.
But then on the bridge, the SSV sounded really mid-rangey, but not grunty. Like the P90s are mid-rangey, but they're like grunty in a way. Maybe there's more low mids or something, but they still, almost to the point that the S90 sounded like they had more gain.
Right.
Almost like there was a little gain push because it was such a grunty, thick sound.
Those mids are hitting it.
Yeah, whereas this was a lot more honky. The SSVs were a lot more honky. And then the whole time you had the Thornbuckers that had like more low end. I think this was the fullest sounding. Yeah. The Thornbuckers were the fullest sounding of all of them. And then this kind of had a grunty nature, and that to me had a very pushed mid-rangey nature.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it.
Which would be probably great in a band. Like,
right.
You know, one thing is playing him in this room and just listening to him, like, you know, versus with other instruments. I thought the S90s had a really good clarity to them, you know, and that single coil thing that you were talking about. I think the Thornbuckers were less bright than I always hear that they are. You know, everyone's like, oh, they're super, you know, real bright and clear, and like a single coil is kind of how they market them. But I thought this had a better top end to it with the SSVs. Yeah.
The SSVs, though, sound like a little bit, you hear that mid-push.
Totally.
Where I feel like if you just lower the low end a little on the Thornbuckers, I bet you could get them pretty bright sounding.
Yeah. And the T was louder, we noticed, too.
It was louder.
You know, just in the room, I felt like I didn't have to play it as hard to get the volume from it. You know?
And that could be pickup height and stuff, but we didn't make any changes to those profiles. That's just, it was the match spit HM4 the whole time, every position. What about the middle?
Middle position on these?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably that was my favorite on that. Yeah. It just has a nice, I think the difference between those pickups is pretty big. Like you were saying about that bridge being really honky, but then the neck being super sweet sounding. Yeah. So I think that middle kind of gets both of those. Yeah. You know, and then I probably liked the T second in the middle. Just it really sweet, kind of like scooped, you know, humbucker sound. But this I think was my favorite on the bridge alone. Like if it was just the bridge, I think because I would like it, you know, in context, like with some overdrive and like you hit it and it's like it's there, you know.
This is my favorite on the bridge, but like I said, I do enjoy that guitar live, and I think for the same reason you're saying, it's in the context of a band, it has a real pushed mid voice that probably sits whereas some of the gruntiness, some of the low end fullness in here maybe is getting lost. These S90s, I will say this, the bridge almost, if you listen to those bridge clips, the bridge almost can sound darker than other guitars at first. Yeah. It's so much of this grunty mid-range, and you don't get a lot of extended high end. When you go to the middle, you get a lot of the extended high end back. But when you're just on the bridge, it gets really throaty. Whereas this guitar, I feel like in the middle, these guitars sounded most similar when they were in the middle position. On the neck and on the bridge, you really hear the differences in the pickups. This is a killer sounding guitar all the time. Yeah. But it is pretty, I think it's pretty true to the PAF, that sort of PAF tone, now that I'm hearing it next to these other ones. Right. To me, these do sound, this sounds like really great PAFs. Not too dark, but definitely full. And I like the high end. If you had to have one.
One out of all three?
You own these two. Right. So I doubt you're going to choose that. But so if you had to have one of all three,
I've had this for a while. This is brand new, so I feel
and
like
these split.
That one does split.
Okay, but if it didn't split,
I'd probably go with that. The other thing we didn't talk at all about, which is, you know, I know it's about humbuckers, but or pickups, you know, but like we've got the Jazzmaster bodies.
Right.
And the Tele thing, which is interesting. Right. We were saying before how the JMs sounded more alike than these sounded alike, even though they both have the humbuckers. And, that's the odd one out.
Yeah,
you know?
And these are all bolt-on. These are the same bridge. This has roasted maple neck, but these are maple and rosewood boards. Yeah. I mean, in terms of construction, there's not a ton of difference in any of these guitars. Like, same bridge.
Yeah.
They're all about equal weight.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
What would you choose? I'd probably go with the T. But
I go with this one because we've never seen another one like it. We almost can never find a T with a bridge like this, unless you like custom order from Suhr, which maybe someone did. And this is a roasted neck, and you can probably, in terms of pure versatility, this guitar wins because we didn't do any split positions, but you can split these as well. If I'd have one, though, I'd choose the P90s because to me, P90s are just the best thing in the world. They're the perfect single coil, the perfect mid-rangey thing.
Yeah.
To me, the P90s win every time.
But it's like not too this, not too that. It's just like right in the middle of everything. That's another reason why I got that. Yeah. I kept hearing you talk about P90s. Had to get them.
Michael Britt and HW agree.
Are you still thinking now after this about putting Thornbuckers in this, or do you like the SSVs?
I think I need a guitar with Thornbuckers.
Another JM Pro.
I didn't say that. But maybe.
Time will tell.
Maybe. Yeah. I've been HW.
I've been Sooze.
HW. Sooze. Out.
Out.
Nice.
Out.
Nice. Out, right?